Written in the stars. The stars twinkled above the small coastal town of Seabrook, where the sky always seemed a bit closer, the ocean a bit bluer, and dreams just a little more attainable. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's names, and every heart carried its own secret. Lila Carter had lived in Seabrook all her life, but her heart had always yearned for something more. She spent her days working at the local bookstore, a quaint shop with creaky wooden floors and the comforting smell of old paper. Her nights, however, were filled with stargazing. There was something about the infinite sky that called to her, as if the stars held the answers to the questions she had yet to ask. It was on one of these quiet nights, lying on her favorite spot by the cliffs, that Lila saw him. A stranger in town, his silhouette framed by the celestial canopy, seemed to fit into her world as if he had always been a part of it. He was tall, with tousled dark hair and a demeanor that spoke of places far beyond Seabrook's borders. As if drawn by an invisible force, Lila approached him. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" she said, her voice carrying the warmth of the summer breeze. The man turned, his deep blue eyes catching the light of the stars. "It is," he replied, his voice soft yet filled with a world of unspoken thoughts. "It feels like the stars are trying to tell us something." Lila smiled, intrigued by the poetic nature of his words. "I've always thought the stars had stories to share, but only if we're willing to listen." He extended his hand, a gesture both formal and intimate. "I'm Jack Hartley." "Lila," she replied, shaking his hand, her heart racing with a feeling she couldn't quite name. Over the course of that night, they talked until the first light of dawn. Jack told her of his travels, of cities brimming with life, and deserts so vast they made one feel as if they were on another planet. Lila, in turn, spoke of Seabrook, of the stories hidden within the pages of the books she loved, and of her dreams to one day see the world beyond the horizon. When the sun finally peeked over the ocean, casting the world in a golden hue, Lila felt as if she had known Jack her entire life. There was something about him, something familiar yet mysterious, that made her feel like she was standing on the edge of something extraordinary. But as much as she was drawn to him, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that Jack was hiding something. There was a shadow in his eyes, a sadness he couldn't quite mask. She wanted to know more, to peel back the layers of the man who had so suddenly become a part of her life. But for now, she was content to just be with him, to let the universe unfold its plans in its own time. Days turned into weeks, and Jack became a fixture in Lila's world. They spent their afternoons exploring the hidden corners of Seabrook and their nights on the cliffs, watching the stars and talking about everything and nothing. It was as if the universe had brought them together, aligning their paths in a way that felt fated, as if written in the stars. But the closer they grew, the more Lila noticed the walls Jack had built around his heart. There were moments when he seemed distant, lost in thoughts he wouldn't share. Lila tried to push those doubts aside, focusing instead on the moments they did have, the laughter, the connection that felt too deep to be mere coincidence. One evening, as they lay on the grass, watching the Perseids shower the sky with streaks of light, Lila finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind. "Jack, what brought you to Seabrook?" she asked, her voice gentle yet probing. "You've been everywhere. Why here? Why now?" Jack was silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the sky. When he finally spoke, his voice was filled with a quiet intensity. "I came here to find something. Or maybe someone." Lila's heart skipped a beat. "Did you find what you were looking for?" He turned to her, his eyes filled with a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. "I think I have," he whispered. Before Lila could respond, Jack leaned in, closing the distance between them. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, as if testing the waters of something deeper. But then it deepened. the connection between them sparking like the stars above, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Lila's heart was pounding, not just from the kiss, but from the realization that she was falling in love with him. But even in that moment of closeness, Lila could sense Jack pulling away. His expression, once filled with warmth, was now clouded with doubt. "What is it, Jack?" Lila asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He shook his head as if trying to dispel whatever thoughts were haunting him. "There's something I need to tell you, Lila. Something that might change everything." Lila's stomach tightened with fear, but she nodded, ready to face whatever truth Jack was about to reveal. "I didn't come to Seabrook by accident," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. "I came here because of a promise I made to someone a long time ago, a promise to find the one person who could show me what it means to truly live. I didn't expect it to be you. I didn't expect to feel this way. But now that I do, I can't keep hiding the truth from you." Lila felt a lump form in her throat. "What truth, Jack?" He took a deep breath, his gaze locking onto hers. "I'm dying, Lila. I've been running from it for a long time, trying to live as much as I can before the end. But now, being here with you, I realize that I don't want to run anymore. I want to spend whatever time I have left with you." The world seemed to tilt on its axis, the stars above spinning in a dizzying dance. Lila felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under her. Jack's words hit her like a punch to the gut, the weight of them threatening to crush the breath out of her. "No," she whispered, shaking her head in denial. "No, that can't be true. There has to be something they can do." Jack reached out, cupping her face in his hands. "Lila, I've accepted it. I've made my peace with it. But what I can't bear is the thought of hurting you, of leaving you behind." Tears welled up in Lila's eyes, her heart breaking at the unfairness of it all. "But you can't just give up. We can fight this together." Jack's eyes were filled with sorrow, but also with a deep, abiding love. "I don't want to spend whatever time I have left fighting, Lila. I want to live, and I want to live with you. But if you can't do this, if you can't bear the thought of losing me, I'll understand." Lila's mind was spinning, her heart torn between the desire to run and the need to hold on. She had always dreamed of love, of finding someone who would make her feel alive. But now, faced with the reality of losing Jack, she wasn't sure if she was strong enough to handle it. But then she looked into his eyes, saw the depth of his love for her, and knew that she couldn't walk away. No matter how much it would hurt in the end, she couldn't turn her back on the love they had found. "I'm not going anywhere," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "We'll face this together, Jack. For as long as we have, we'll face it together." Jack pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if afraid she might slip away. And in that moment, under the blanket of stars that had brought them together, Lila knew that their love, no matter how brief, was written in the stars. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. Jack and Lila's love grew stronger with each passing day, even as the shadow of Jack's illness loomed ever closer. They made the most of every moment, filling their days with laughter, adventure, and quiet, stolen moments of peace. Lila refused to let the sadness consume her. Instead, she focused on the joy of being with Jack, of experiencing life through his eyes. They traveled to nearby towns, watched the sun rise over distant mountains, and danced under the moonlight, their hearts entwined in a love that felt timeless. But as much as they tried to outrun it, the reality of Jack's condition could not be ignored. His health began to decline, his energy fading like the last light of day. Lila stayed by his side, her love unwavering, even as the weight of their situation grew heavier with each passing day. One night, as they lay together on the cliffs where they had first met, Jack took Lila's hand in his. His touch was weaker now, but the warmth of his love was as strong as ever. Lila, he said softly, his voice tinged with a sadness that broke her heart. I want you to know that meeting you, loving you, has been the greatest gift of my life. I don't know what comes after this, but I believe that our love will last beyond the stars. Tears slipped down Lila's cheeks, her heart aching with the knowledge that their time together was running out. I love you, Jack, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I'll love you forever, no matter where you are. Jack smiled, a soft, bittersweet smile that spoke of both love and acceptance. Then it's settled, he said, his voice growing fainter. We're written in the stars, you and me, forever. They held each other close, their hearts beating in time with the rhythm of the universe, as the stars above seemed to shine just a little brighter, as if acknowledging the love that had been forged beneath them. And as the night wore on, with the dawn still hours away, Jack closed his eyes, his breath slowing as he drifted into a peaceful sleep. Lila held him, her tears falling silently, knowing that this was their final goodbye. When the first light of morning touched the horizon, Jack was gone, his soul slipping away as quietly as the stars disappearing into the dawn. Lila stayed by his side, her heart shattered but filled with a love that would never fade. In the days that followed, Lila struggled to find her footing in a world without Jack. The pain of his loss was overwhelming, but in her heart, she knew that their love had been something extraordinary, something that would stay with her for the rest of her life. She continued to visit the cliffs, to watch the stars, feeling Jack's presence in every twinkle of light, every whisper of the wind. And though the pain of losing him would never fully fade, Lila found solace in the knowledge that their love, their story, was indeed written in the stars. For as long as the stars shone in the night sky, Lila knew that Jack would be with her, a love that transcended time, space, and even death. A love that was, and always would be, written in the stars. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring and heartfelt content. Stay tuned for more stories that uplift and inspire. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful stories. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next story.